And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. Right now, excited to welcome back on the show, activist, actor, ass kicker. It is Ron Perlman. You know him, award-winning actor from movies from Hellboy to TV series Sons of Anarchy, so much more. He's also a tireless activist now to save our democracy against the fascism, and he's been fighting that fight for years now. Ron, great to see you. Thanks for being back on.
Great to see you, Dean, baby, and thanks for keeping up the good fight.
You know, I got nothing. I got no place to go. Like Richard Gere and Officer and a Gentleman. I was just watching. I got no place to go. This is
Well,
it.
you know, we're looking down the barrel of we may end up with no place to go. So the fight is never more urgent than it is right now.
It's unbelievable. So look, let me just get your reaction a little bit. I hope you didn't watch Trump's 90-minute speech. You may have seen clips of it. Horrific, mind wandering, meandering. He almost fell asleep during it. He fell asleep during the convention. Corporate media just gives him a pass. It's unbelievable. What's your reaction to what you saw this week? Whatever clips you saw from the RNC, anything stand out?
I have deliberately and actively avoided even turning on my chill pill, which is MSNBC, because you always get the bad news through a decent lens, and
right.
So if you're gonna look at it right down the barrel of bad news, you want to get at least have it disseminated by people of like minds and like sensibilities. But I've even avoided that. I think I tuned in yesterday for about 5 minutes and watched a kind of a pastiche of the speakers that had taken the stage the first 3 days, and it was the only. I don't tweet anymore. I thread now.
I know. I see that.
I don't know what the verb for threading is, but that's what I do. I just got to the point where I just couldn't align myself with anything having to do with Elon Musk and the cesspool that is Twitter. So I moved over. I don't know if anybody's out there hearing anything I say, but I guess the reason why we rail and we do the things we do is as much therapeutic for our own selves, and like trying to talk ourselves into the fact that we're at least taking a stand, making an effort, fighting the fight, so that regardless of what where the dust ends up settling, you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, did I do as much as I could do? My answer to myself is, I'm obsessed with being able to say, yes, you did, Ron.
And look, you're making a difference because you're using your fame and that you earn from work for really good causes. You're not Kid Rock singing songs that don't even make sense at the convention last night and watching the awkward white people stare at him trying to clap on beat and just completely missing it. I mean, there was a little entertainment value just watching that go on. And Hulk Hogan there, you're like, this is the best you guys can do. And that is the best.
It is the best they can do. Just to complete my thought, though,
sure.
The one thing I sent out yesterday on Threads was all of these people describing this end of days scenario. Every single person that took to the fucking stage was doom and gloom, and they're coming to get you. And I went to prison for your sins. That little total white-haired scumbag. What's his name?
Jersey. Peter Navarro.
Yeah,
Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro.
Peter Navarro. I mean, when he was a piano player. Oh no, that was a different Navarro. But anyway, it's just one piece of shit after another, telling you how afraid you're supposed to be, and the gaslighting of the fact that the only ones that can save you from the horror that is this left wing. What are they accusing us doing of grooming the next generation to be thinkers, to be people who read books, to be people who actually understand the difference between fascism and a democratic republic that fought fascism since its inception. In fact, fought fascism in order to be incepted, or whatever that the verb is. It's like it's so dark, and it's so beneath anything aspirational that the best of this country represents, that it's just a complete fucking, still game. And it's a complete, like it's nothing but snake oil. And, the phrase, only I can fix it. First of all, only you can break it. You've proven that. And you're really, really good at breaking it. And then this new thing where you found your perfect mate in life, the Heritage Foundation, who has this kind of theocratic fascist version of how to stay white, how to maintain the privilege that comes with white Christianity, which is the only thing they have room for in their really, really small tent. Then they find this guy who is, the racist in chief, the darkest, the most, I will play to all of your miseries and all of your grievances, and I will tell you why you should be afraid, and I will tell you why you should keep hating, and I will tell you why you need to take up arms, and I will tell you why we can never ever trust anybody to count votes, and I will tell you all this shit that does nothing but stoke your fear and your uneducated positions about absolutely fucking everything. I will supplant reason and logic and civic duty of understanding who you are and what your responsibilities are in order to preserve the democracy. I will supplant them with basically Hitlerism, and that's what we're on the road to doing if these guys are allowed to prevail.
And I'm chatting with Ron Perlman, actor, activist. So, Ron, I mean, when you take a step back, forget this week, but in the big picture, is it stunning to you that we are in a nation here where a guy attempts a coup? There's no doubt about it. He's charged with felonies for that, and Donald Trump. He incited January 6th. He has promised to pardon the terrorists. He has celebrated them as hostages and now calling them J6 warriors. And he's not in jail 4 years later. He's the Republican nominee for president. What has happened in our country that we got to this place?
I like to think that we were fixing for this fight since the end of the Civil War, and
Really?
That silent majority that I heard about growing up is no longer silent. They found their wheelhouse. They found their way to empower themselves. They actually executed, so much of their plan by putting, those 3 justices on the Supreme Court. They actually executed so much of their plan by having a scumbag like Mitch McConnell not even give the president of the United States his constitutional right to pick his own Supreme Court justice. These guys have had this plan ever since we kicked their fucking asses in 1860, whatever. And they've been laying in wait, and suddenly something has happened in the zeitgeist, Dean, that has allowed them to somehow miraculously, against all logic and reason and against anything that us thinking people who assumed democracy was safe could have possibly imagined. And that is Donald Trump gets elected in 2016, 2017, whatever the fucking date was.
2016, yeah.
And is able to take these 3 handpicked scumbags who lied to Congress in order to get the gig and said that they will never touch Roe versus Wade and said they will never touch voting rights. They just lied. And what these guys were handpicked by this Heritage Foundation, and Heritage Foundation said, Trump, man, I mean, this is better than Sinatra singing the Star Spangled Banner. This guy you talk about carrying the banner of the darkness that we have just articulated in 900 pages, thing called Project 2025. Go read it. It's like just to the right of Sharia law. And no offense, Dean. No.
No, I know. I believe me. If you're to the right of Sharia law, you've lost me. Okay, so
Sharia law is like what they're proposing. We will be inside your vaginas. We will be inside your libraries. We will be inside your bedroom. We will be inside everything, and we will make sure that you do only what we, what's the name of that Anyway, I'll think of it.
Okay.
The something wives' tale.
Oh, Handmaids. The
Yeah, the
Handmaid's Tale.
handmaids. We are them.
Yep.
And now that we got this guy Trump, who's got this huge following, we can be out in the open with it, which I kind of thank God for, because now we know what it is we're looking at. And now we know what it is we have to do in order to counteract it. Now, whether we will or not, that's a little bit above my pay grade. I don't know but I'm optimistic. I think we're going to decimate these motherfuckers. Whether it be with Biden or Harris, we're going to decimate these motherfuckers because there's no choice. Right. We cannot become Germany in 1933, and that's what they're describing.
Yeah, I was on Joy Reid's show, and I said 2 weeks ago, Project 2025 is the GOP's version of Mein Kampf. It's their blueprint to control all of us. And I tried to explain it in an academic way, like I wasn't just trying to be over the top, that Mein Kampf was Hitler's vision. He wrote 2 volumes of it. It was his vision, one, his hateful vision and ideology, and the second one was more about policy. That's what Project 2025, it affects every part of our lives. That's literally what their goal is, to control everything we do. And they have no problem with that. They just don't know how much of that they can turn into law. But Ron, I want to touch on something, because you just mentioned, and you gave a really compelling video on Instagram defending Joe Biden. But now you just said to me, if our nominee is Biden or Harris, and you endorse Harris, I remember in 2020 campaign, you would like her. And of course, you've been completely defending Biden. You're like, stay on Biden. What's going on? Have you moved on that? Is that why you say Biden or Harris, or you're just being sort of thinking out loud?
I have not moved on that, but I am very much paying attention to the amount of big time movers and shakers in the Democratic Party who are whispering in Biden's ear. Right. So I'm preparing myself for it. I have not changed my position. Joe Biden saved this country. Joe Biden restored Americanism. And I don't mean that in a small way. I mean that in so many ways where we can now hold our head up high in the world again, where we were once a laughing stock, and people were like running for the hills, like, what the fuck are you guys doing? He brought us back. And he ended the pandemic with such grace and such ease that it looked like it was effortless. And he brought the economy back to where the unemployment level is lowest it's been in my entire lifetime. And he's kicking inflation's ass. Inflation was inevitable, considering the trend that he was inheriting from the scumbag that is Trump. So in my mind, Joe Biden is the hero on the white horse that we longed for and that we needed and we got. And it's fucking Joe Biden's decision to stay or go. And I love Joe Biden. I trust Joe Biden enough to think that whatever decision he makes, I'm down. But it's his to make. And I have not changed that position. Should he succumb to the pressure that he's under, and should it be Kamala Harris? We'll talk about that when the time comes, but I will tell you, I think she's even more able to beat Trump's ass than even he would be, because she do not play. She don't play. Now,
and she's a former prosecutor.
I know what we're looking at. I know, why we got Trump is because the country was just not ready for its first black president. And the reaction to that was like whiplash. And that's how we got Trump. But we got Obama because we had Bush. So there's always this reaction to like whatever it is that's way too extreme for our consciousness. We do an overcorrection, and that's just unfortunate because that shows weakness.
No, I agree. And listeners to my show are where you are overwhelmingly, with few exceptions, want Biden to stay. But at the same time, if Biden were to make that choice, we would respect it. I don't see any problem uniting as Democrats if Joe Biden said, I've made the choice. If he does, I'm not advocating that, but if he does, and then Vice President Harris becomes the nominee, I'm not worried about us being a fractured party. I think we unite because Trump is that scary, and Vice President Harris is very effective. She's grown so much in the job. I've been to some events where she's at. She's been great in the past. And her being a prosecutor running against a convicted felon, a guy facing even more charges, is also a pretty good contrast, to be honest.
Yeah, she's almost, you know, I mean, if there was anything that frustrates one about Joe Biden, is what a gentleman he is.
Right.
You know, he keeps the gloves on at all time. He never takes them off. I mean, the Instagram live that followed the one you're referring to, where I defended Biden
Mm-hmm.
to my dying breath, was that now that the Supreme Court has given Biden the right to make any decision he needs to make in terms of, you know, official acts. Unfortunately, he's too much of a gentleman to exercise that to the degree where he should. But he really should start thinking about fiat, because, you know, our democracy and our republic is under assault, and there are people there like this fucking bitch who just threw out the secret documents case, the Espionage Act case. You know, if I was president of the United States, the first thing I would do is say, I'm sorry, your position about not being constitutional to actually appoint a special prosecutor is false. So we're taking the case away from you, and we're going to mount it next week, because you just attacked my Justice Department, and my Justice Department is seeking justice. And whatever way you want to manipulate the law, it don't work anymore, because the Supreme Court just told me I could do whatever the fuck I want to do. And if it comes to defending reason and logic and law and order, and these guys are attacking that in order to let a scumbag skate on classified documents that he's showing to fucking, you know, people who have boating businesses in Mar-a-Lago. Look what I got. This was classified. Look at this. How cool am I?
Right.
Like, he's putting so many of the people who are defending this place at risk, and this bitch throws it out. And you think that guys like me and you can sit around and just take that shit? I'm not going to take it. And if I was Joe Biden, first thing I would do is go, first of all, you're impeached because you put your finger on the scale. And so we're going to take away, you know, whatever privilege has been handed to you, because you're not equipped to be a judge. You insult the institution of justice. And second of all, this case goes forward because it's the United States against Donald Trump. He stole classified documents. And he's like, you know, even Bill Barr said this is the most open and shut case.
Yeah.
If we sit here and take that shit, Dean, we're fucked.
And
we can't.
Ron, and if Trump was in office, he would do what you're saying. He'd do worse. That's what's so frightening, because he's
trying to be in office to stay out of jail.
Right. Yeah, but Donald Trump today is far more dangerous than Donald Trump in 2020, because that's exactly why he'll never leave office. Because when he leaves office, he would go to jail. He'd get charged with crimes, or he'd have to report to New York to be sentenced here at the very least in Fulton County. I think he's far more dangerous. Now you give him absolute immunity for a broad swath of actions and then call anything official and have presumptive immunity. Truly a dangerous person. It would be unthinkable to allow him in the White House. Unthinkable.
And then the enablers who are fronting for him are just as much of an affront on law and order and the rule of law as he is. Eileen Cannon, I'm telling you, if I was president, you should be looking over your shoulder, bitch, because what you just did in terms of attacking the things that keep us safe and that make us who we are and that allow us to have an edge over the people who are trying to take us down, what you just did, you talk about enemies of the state. That's how I would treat you. And that's a good thing that I'm not president, because that's the first thing I would do. Is I would
There'll be drone strikes.
First of all, the gaslighting stops today.
Right.
And one of the anytime you front for this guy and you do his bidding, and that includes Clarence Thomas and Justice Alito, who are taking bribes from people whose cases they're sitting on.
Yep.
That's the next guys I would go after. Because you just gave me the right to do it. You just gave me the right to any official act that I can construe as in protecting our republic, I can do it because I'm president. You just gave me that right. The difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is one party would use that in a most, dastardly way, and the rest of us are just too gentlemanly like to do it. Well, I think it's time to take off the gloves because we're in a war, bro. We're in a war, and they're bringing the war to us. We're not bringing it to them. But if that's the position that they're going to put us in, we better start moving on a war footing, because this place is too precious to let the Heritage Foundation build it in its image.
I agree. I'm chatting with our friend Ron Perlman. Well, if Biden doesn't run, I think a Harris Perlman ticket is the winner for 2024. Have Ron as VP, put him in charge of using absolute immunity to preserve the Constitution. Have you ever played a president?
Dean,
Have you ever played a president?
I've gone to the mountaintop and I've looked over, and I don't like what I see. I'm staying in showbiz, bro.
Okay, so you're staying. So you're gonna no politics for you. Have you ever played a president?
Have I ever played a president?
Or
no.
General?
No, I don't even think I played a corporal.
Really? In
No,
Pinocchio, were you the
played
voice?
a colonel. I played a colonel in a short film that won the Academy Award.
Wow.
I've put on the uniform for Hollywood.
All right.
Not for my country, but for Hollywood.
All right. So last thing I want to touch on the short. It's a commercial, but it's a parody to make a point, not to just make people laugh. It's funny. ExxonMobil ad that Adam McKay, who's an award winner in directing, he did Don't Look Up, but also The Big Short and a lot of other great stuff. He's really funny. I used to work with Adam years ago, Saturday Night Live, and he directed it. You did the voiceover, and it was to make a point about ExxonMobil. You actually have a line. Sure, scientists accurately predicted catastrophic climate change 60 years ago, but we didn't want you to know about it. We spent billions so you wouldn't know. So tell us a little bit about that. And it's online now. People can check it out, and I'll share it again on social media.
Well, I did a movie with Adam where we met called Don't Look Up. You just mentioned it. Mm-hmm. And Adam and I discovered that we kind of, in terms of the things that we hold dear about being Americans, there was a lot of common ground. And so we stayed friends, not on a showbiz level, but more on an activist level. And his organization, Yellow Dot, is the organization that is fighting feverishly to save the planet from burning up. And this was one of the tools. I was honored to be asked to do the voiceover for it. Whatever Adam asked me to do, is a pleasure and an honor. And it got a lot of play. It got a lot of people's attentions because it didn't mince words.
Right. I think it's one of the issues where Republicans get in. They call climate change a hoax. Donald Trump has said point blank that the fossil fuel companies give me $1 billion and I'll give you I'll get rid of any regulation you want. He said, drill, baby, drill at the convention last night. They don't care. They don't care about the future because their future is short. Yet the generations that are coming behind them are living in a nation, not just around the world, but in our nation where it's going to be unlivable in the near term. It's already parts of it are unlivable now.
Yeah.
Heat and flooding. So there's a line in that movie, in the short film, that it's a commercial, but it's like a short film that you say, get off your asses and do something, you effing peasants. And that's sort of the line for people for 2024. We got to get there and do something. Not that everyone's a peasant, but I know what you're getting at. You got to do something.
Well, I'd like to take credit for having written that line. All I did was perform it. But what I love about the tone of the thing is that it doesn't equivocate. And we're watching, it goes back to what I was saying, the rules of engagement and, the difference between the way Democrats conduct themselves in terms of the rules of engagement and the way Republicans have no rules of engagement.
Right.
Calls for a different type of hopefully temporarily, but a different set of rules of engagement where we better understand how ruthless our enemy is. And make no mistake, it is an enemy and it will do anything it can to seize power because that's all it's interested in doing. But they've shown us what they want to do with their power. It's in a 900-page document. I recommend everybody go read it.
Yep.
And there'll be a whole lot of people who will go, yeah, that's fucking great. That's for me, which is the most heartbreaking part of what we're living through right now is understanding how large the swath in this country is of people who are willing to mistake what they're serving up as Americanism and as patriotism. And so those of us who find that version of life intolerable, it's up to us to make sure that it never comes to pass.
I agree. Well, Ron, thank you, my friend, for joining us. It's nice chat. And let's talk again in a couple of months when we're in the heat of the fall of the campaign. If you might be filming a movie, but if you're around, I'd love to have you back on. We'll talk then, like a month out from the election to make sure people get off your asses and do something, like you say in the video, so people get out there and vote.
Pleasure to see you again, Dean. Always, as always, and thanks for having me on, bro.
Of course, Ron. Have a great day, brother.